In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. Nothing that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never stray from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right. Welcome in, everyone. It is Feel Good Friday, October 21st, 2022. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, getting you locked and loaded for Week 7 of the NFL season. Vibes are at an all-time high here in the Happy Valley, where I'm joining you from. Not only is the whiteout game this weekend here at Penn State, not only did our overs finally hit for Thursday Night Football, and not only did Elijah Moore of the Frisky Jets request a trade, but yeah, guys, you guessed it, CMC is a 49er. And we're going to break it all down today. Actor Mike Stoyanov is going to join us here in just a couple minutes. And then we're going to have big pod energy, Andrew Erickson from the FantasyPros Football Podcast joining us just around 2:10 Eastern time for our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. Riding shotgun with me today is my guy, Nate Polvote. Nate, how are you out there today, my friend? You're a guy who you're not afraid to put Scholastic on blast. You're not afraid to come in here with some tight end deep sleepers today as well. How are the October vibes treating you, my friend?
It was 80 degrees here yesterday.
Woo.
It is glorious. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, not only indoors, but I will be outdoors as well. It's a glorious fall weekend. We've had Jackson at home for the last 2 days.
Okay.
So thank God it's been nice outside.
Yes, yeah. Let him run around a little bit, get his energy out while you and Jen get to work over here at IBT. Looks like we got some familiar faces here in the chat. We got Albert. Good afternoon, Albert. Appreciate you tuning in. We got our guy Sven down there in Texas. Penn State stinks. I understand. You got the best of us. Your Michigan guys got the best of us last week, Sven. But good to see you in the chat regardless. We got Brock, new face in the chat. Brock, we're going to get to your questions here in just a little bit. Hang around with us, and we'll get to those. Nate, I'm super excited to be back here with you today, my friend. Excited to have all the IBT family in the chat already. If you guys are new to the IBT family, welcome in. Please hit like and subscribe on this video if you guys like feel good lifestyle advice mixed with your fantasy sports advice. Ask questions, engage with the chat today. It's going to be an awesome show. Today, we're going to start with our news and NFL Thursday Night Football recap. And to do that, we're going to welcome in a very familiar face to the show. He was the face, one of the stars of the 1990 sitcom Blossom. He is someone who has an IDMB page pretty much as good as Christian McCaffrey's stat sheet. A man who crushes everything he's on and is a fantasy football degen, just like the rest of us. Guys, give it up for the one, the only, Mike Stoyanov. What's up, Mike?
What is up, buddy?
I love coming on. I love the intro, as I've already mentioned. I love the main song, the main title song. Thank you so much. Great to be here as always. Degen. I'm a fantasy football degen. Is that short for degenerate, I assume?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Welcome.
I got to comment real quick. I see we're the glasses crew. I want to say next month, we better also be Movember mustache crew. You guys better get on it. Seth, it looks like you might need to work a little extra hard on that. Nate, I'm picturing like a full Tom Selleck in 2 weeks.
Oh, I'll have a full Tom Selleck. Jen hates it. Hates it. You should have. I'm going to have to do something different than I did last year because I'm going to admit I looked a little bit creepy in a mustache.
So we did the Movember stream last year with the guys over at Football Guys last year, Mike, and Nate actually won. Like everyone said, who has the best mustache on the stream today?
I can see him like having a thick, like Raleigh fingers turn.
Yes.
Like
That's what I'm going for this year. I'm going to do the twist.
Like a turn of the century boxer, like John O'Sullivan or something.
Yes.
One more thing real quick. I got to say I'm rocking my Scott Fishbowl 12 Gotham shirt. If you're an SFB, go to, I think it's Store Envy. I believe some of the proceeds go to the cause, and the shirts are awesome. I also got a Chicago one just because I got it's a Bears logo with a hybrid with the SFB.
Yes.
Definitely go Store Envy. Really cool shirts, really cool gear. Go get yours.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I hope your guys' Scott Fishbowl team's doing a little better than mine. This is the first year.
Unfortunately, I got to say, after like all that like effusive like love I just gave, I hate the QB scoring. Oh my God. It's so hard to figure out. And it occurs to me now, week 7, unfortunately, of my first year, it may not be the best idea to super flex like a quarterback that's in the bottom half of the quarterbacks. Like, you might actually be better served with going with another position in that flex spot because it's brutal.
Yes.
That incompletion, like negative, is killer.
I completely agree.
Yes.
I've been in the quarterfinals, the semifinals. I've had to play Davis Mills, Big Ben, and they've just got me negative points. So I've been there, Mike. I feel the pain
in there, for God's sake. I mean,
now they're definitely valuable in there. Mike, how are you doing, man? How's it been? We saw you, I think, week 2, so it's been about 4 or 5 weeks. How are the vibes treating you? You out in Los Angeles today?
I am. On a fantasy note, things are going sort of. I got about 5 home leagues, and like I'm a collection of anywhere between 2 and 4, and 4 and 2. Like no 0-6ers, thank God, but also no 6 and 0, no 5 and 1. On a personal note, I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to find myself working this week. I'm working on a show called The Rookie. For you Nathan Fillion fans.
Yes, I love him from Castle.
Super familiar with the show, but it's like a crime cop, like sort of a lighthearted, not like a heavy procedural. I don't get the sense, but it was fun, a fun little gig. I play an old hippie who runs a pot dispensary. I don't know what they saw in me that made them think that me, but I feel like I crushed it. So that was good. That on a personal note, I am still in LA. I'm trying to get my place here rented so I can get back to New York. And that's about it.
Awesome, man. Were you the villain, or were you just kind of like the friendly neighborhood pot salesman?
I don't want to spoil too much, but I was an old hippie who runs like a pot dispensary and does it the right way with the permits and collecting the taxes. And like some guy has like thrown out a sandwich board and like pulled out his like boogie van like outside my store, and I'm like, guys, he's destroying my business. Like, and so it's a little scene there, and then it goes from there. But
awesome.
I would say I'm a good guy.
Okay.
In this situation.
Do we have a premiere date yet? Is there a launch date?
So it's like in the middle. It's a middle episode from season 5, somewhere between like episode 10 and 15, somewhere in there. And I'm pretty sure probably season 5 is up and going now, so it'll probably be a month or so out.
Very
cool. But again, it's a Dark Knight sized part. Like, don't go get a snack or like that, or have it DVR'd because you're going to need to rewind if you want to see me work.
Hey, well, we will be certainly excited to tune in when that happens, Mike. I'll set the DVR. I DVR everything, so we'll set that for you here, Mike. What was your overall impression of the Christian McCaffrey trade, my friend? A 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th round pick in the 2023 draft, and a 5th round pick from 2024. They got a load back for him.
They did. I mean, not like the Herschel Walker deal, but I guess the position has changed.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I think. And again, it's so easy in hindsight to say this, like he's going to do more for that team than Russell Wilson has for Denver so far. And I know that you have to give up more to get a QB, but like they gave up like a Ricky Williams / Herschel Walker type amount of like, I think this is great for San Francisco. Obviously, I think I'm annoyed because like before the season, I got like 25-1 on like the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. And this hurts that.
Yes.
Like I would preferred the status quo stay as it is, and like they, but now I feel like San Francisco could definitely emerge as another force in the NFC capable of winning it all. Again, from a fantasy standpoint, I have one team where like I've got no depth at running back, to the degree where like 3 weeks ago I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up Mitchell. I know I'm going to have to hold him for like 9 weeks,
Right.
but at least then at the end of the season, I have an RB3. This, of course, blows that plan out of the water. And it's like, I held that guy for a month and like he took up a spot now for nothing. My only hope is that he gets traded. And like, I guess that could happen, but yeah. So I think it's a crazy, I like seeing like big moves and big action like that. So it's exciting. And I think he won't play much this week. I think Wilson, like get your Wilson points.
Yes.
Like this is it. This is the last week to get good points out of Wilson, I think. So
And the crazy thing is too, I just published a column last night and my start of the week for running back was Jeff Wilson Jr., of course, prior to this news. It is a great matchup for running backs coming up, especially pass catching running backs. That's where Jeff Wilson Jr. hasn't really been used this season, but the Chiefs allow the most receptions, targets, and receiving yards to the opposing backs. I don't think
you can use CMC in passing downs on Sunday. It's just too, I mean, because some of the times he'll have to block and he won't know. I mean, unless the system is so similar, like I don't think he's going to, I think there's a chance he's in like t-shirts and his new San Francisco 49ers cap on Sunday. But even if he suits up, I would still probably, and we'll cover this later, I guess, I'd probably still start Wilson because I just think he's still going to get most of the snaps.
Completely agree with you there. Nate, looking at this from a season-long perspective, to me, obviously, Mike kind of touched on it. Jeff Wilson Jr., Elijah Mitchell. I still think Jeff is worth a roster spot right now, a bench spot. We don't know the health long-term for CMC, but I think it's a downgrade for them. A slight downgrade maybe for Deebo Samuel, who probably won't get as much run, but maybe he'll get more passing work. How do you see it shaking out for Deebo, Ayuk, Kittle? They've all been just okay fantasy assets so far this season, Nate.
Well, I think you've now added another element to this offense that defenses have to focus on. They haven't had to focus on Jeff Wilson really that much, so they've been able to stack against the pass and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. They can't do that anymore because now you've got Christian McCaffrey, who in every aspect of the offense will be involved. I think that this actually might elevate Deebo a little bit. I think that this is going to help George Kittle because, again, now they're going to have to use linebackers to shadow CMC, or they're pulling a safety to CMC that now can't shadow Kittle or can't shadow Deebo. I think all in all, this offense is better all around in fantasy.
Okay. Mike, kind of hearing what Nate's saying there, are you interested maybe in Jimmy Garoppolo in a one quarterback league? Let's face it, Mike, if you don't have one of these top 5 quarterbacks, it has been brutal out there. We get Tua coming back this week, so maybe some better vibes, but are you interested in Garoppolo? Maybe this can take him to that fantasy goodness that we've been waiting for his career?
I mean, it absolutely helps him. You've got to move him up like significantly. I think it helps everyone. I think in terms of, it helps Deebo in that he'll move back to the more traditional receiver role and he'll catch more passes. I think it helps Kittle because that now there's another sort of someone in the short, in the flats and in the, the screen game. And like, so I think he should be more open. Like, I just think, for Jimmy G, this is huge because he's not exactly a guy who wants to chuck it like 60 yards downfield. And that's not where McCaffrey's going to be. So like, this is just a guy who, like, he's now has 2 guys who are really, really, really good at getting open short. And like, that's great for him because that's where he likes to throw and he's good at it. He throws, unlike say Carson Wentz, couldn't hit the side of a barn, like 4-yard, like he or like threw it at his feet. But like Garoppolo's really good at those passes. So I think this is huge for him. Really big.
Okay, so you're liking Jimmy Garoppolo, a little of a boost here. The biggest person I think it hurts a little bit is Brandon Ayuk. He had an absurd almost 29% target share last week. I'm expecting that to come back down to earth a little bit, especially if we see Deebo more in a traditional wide receiver sense as well. So, I'm really excited about that. Just a crazy trade, unprecedented. I haven't seen this happen in a long time in the middle of a season, let alone well before the trade deadline. So congrats to Christian McCaffrey for heading back home we hope you enjoy your time out there in the Bay Area. Good luck to him and the 49ers faithful. I know our friends John Chapman and Crystal Scour, some of the bigger 49ers content creators, they're happy about that. So congrats to you guys. I'm seeing some new faces kind of pile into the chat here. Good to see Scampers back and Dee this morning. What's up, guys? Good to see you. If you guys have any questions for us, make sure you drop those. We're going to get to those in just a couple minutes here. I do want to talk about the Panther side of this as well. And I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on it, but obviously this creates a role for either Donta Foreman or Chuba Hubbard and or both. I don't think Hubbard is their guy long-term, and I think they know that. However, he could be their pass-catching back moving forward here in the presumptive future there. So I think it's interesting to roster both these guys right now. Go out on your waivers if you haven't already. Try to find them. Free agency's open in a lot of leagues. So I acquired them last night. I heard the news, opened up a couple of my apps. Wasn't quick enough in some leagues, was in others. DJ Moore, you're still burnt, buddy. Don't know what to tell you. Like, they're not trading you is what we've heard. So, Mike, what is kind of your overall impression on the Carolina side of this Christian McCaffrey trade?
I agree with everything you just said. I went out immediately. I prioritized Foreman. A couple places. He was already on some rosters. I'm in some leagues that have really deep benches. And then if I couldn't get him, I begrudgingly, I found a way to get Hubbard, although I'm not nearly as excited about that. My fear is that it's going to be either they're going to bring someone in and it's just going to be a total mess, or the Foreman and Hubbard are both going to be sort of 50-50 and not useful, either one of them, to any of us. And yeah, you're right with Moore, and obviously getting rid of Anderson, who, I mean, again, I don't know what wide receivers, they're just problems.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes you think you can act like that and people aren't going to be get out of the team. But so, I mean, my point being that they're clearly done this year. They're we're all right. And I'm sure DJ Moore, I saw someone from the organization was DJ Moore is a centerpiece. Yes. We're going to make him a focal point. So clearly they're telling him, we're done this year. We're going to get one of these amazing QBs in the draft. We're going to get 10 other guys in this draft. We're going to build around you. Next year, we're back. We had to get rid of CMC because we need 6 other problems addressed. But DJ, one more year, you're very young. You came into the league young. Be patient. Your time is coming. I feel like they're done this year. In terms of viability of any kind, either fantasy or especially reality. But I think that this was probably ultimately what they had to do. And they're going to get one of these great QBs from college, right?
Certainly, that's gotta be the plan. Oh, there is a horde of them coming in. This is a really good QB class. So I'm looking forward to that. Nate, it sounds like Mike and I are saying that Hubbard, Foreman, DJ Moore, rest of the season, they're flex plays. It's nothing to bat an eye over, get too excited about. Are you on that board as well?
Yeah, I think I don't even know that I'm excited as flex plays. This team is just a mess. Matt Rule did a number, and I'm concerned that we're going to maybe next season they're going to draft the Josh Rosen of this draft because it's Carolina, and that's where we're just going to. I don't know. Right now it's a mess. Rest of season, if you can move off of these guys, I would recommend doing it.
Okay. So Nate's not getting too excited about it either. Quickly, before we get to some of the start-sit questions, I just want to touch on the Elijah Moore situation. I got buried by some non-Jets fans on Twitter, and it's crazy because I used to get buried by Jets fans, and now I'm one of them, I think. So I appreciate you guys accepting me into the club. But all I said last night on Twitter is Elijah Moore comes out, he makes a trade request after the biggest win in franchise history since Rex Ryan was the head coach. It was a historic win to go into Lambeau and do what they did to the Packers. They might not be the Packers of old, but they're still the Green Bay Packers. And Elijah Moore requests this trade. I get it. He wants to get the bag here in a couple of seasons. But what has he proved? He had a couple game stretch last year where we saw the talent. We saw the talent at Ole Miss a little bit too. But I don't know. I am just a little I don't know. I'm a little cringed on this situation. I just don't think this was a good move from a team building perspective for Elijah Moore to do this. They said they're not trading him, Nate, but he's inactive this week.
I think this is you want to be loud in the media? We're going to put you on the bench and not trade you. And if you at some point decide that you want to have a better attitude, maybe we'll start working you back into the offense. I think if you have him in fantasy, you either hold him or be okay with dropping him and not getting anything back, because he's not tradable in fantasy at this point. He's obviously not a part of this offense. And even if he does get moved before the deadline, where is he going to go where he's going to have impact realistically?
Right.
Yeah, Packers is the only place I can think right now just because they're so banged up. Mike, any thoughts on kind of the situation here in New York? I know you've been around, you work in the acting industry, so you have to have a good cast around you to do that. What's kind of that takeaway that you're having hearing this situation here in New York?
I mean, I think that even if you are already a big established star, it's a strange, curious, and immature attitude. Like you are playing in a team sport, sir. Like this, you know, if you need to be, you should play tennis or be a figure skater. If you need to be the star all the freaking time, you need to be in an individual sport. Like I just find it mystifying. And I'm sure that Saleh and like the locker room, 90% is like, yeah, like, dude, we're 4-2. We're the New York Jets and we're 4-2. It's week 7. And like we are in the playoff hunt and you're freaking complaining. That's bananas. Like that's, I mean, and like, yeah, they're not going to trade him and they're not, but I'm blown away. And like I said, even if you're like a hall on the way eventually to the Hall of Fame, it's just weird and like poorly timed and just indicative of your failure to understand like the dynamics of a team sport. Like I find it off-putting, and like I think he's super talented. He's young. Hopefully, he'll come across some of that wisdom as he gets older. But like, it's just a bad look, a really bad look for him. Boo.
Mike, that was a sensational promo you just cut, my friend. That was great because I'm feeling the same way. It is a team sport out here, and so many people are saying, "Oh, he's got to look out for himself. You know, he has a better career ahead of him." Prove it to me first. Prove it to me first. And still, this is a team sport, like Mike said. So I don't think we need to touch much more on that. Before we talk a little bit Thursday night recap, I know Mike had a big night over there. Let's answer a couple questions here for people who've been waiting patiently in the chat. Appreciate all the new faces out there. If you guys like this type of content, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a beat with us. First, we've got Brock here. What's up, fellas? Pick a side, full PPR redraft. So we've got a question here, trade question. Chubb, Gabe Davis, or Mixon, DJ Moore, Jacoby, and B-Rob. So I don't think this is really a question for me, guys. I'm definitely taking the Chubb side here. He says he already has Waddle, D-Hop, Godwin, Mooney. So he has an okay receiving core. Mike, how do you feel about this question here from Brock?
Yeah, for redraft, I agree with you, Seth, 100%. I would go with Chubb and Gabe D. I mean, Chubb, you're getting like the RB 1, 2, or 3 like on any given week. He's been on fire this week, and like Gabe Davis, when he hits big too. And like it's just, I don't really beyond Mixon. I just all the bottom 3 on that or the other side. Just every week I'd be like, do I or don't I? Like these other 2 guys? Yeah, definitely, I'm with you.
Not needle movers. Yeah, not needle movers. I mean, we've talked about DJ Moore. B-Rob's a guy. Jacoby's a guy. Nate, any other thoughts on this one here from Brock?
Nope, it's the Chubb Gabe Davis side for sure.
Awesome. We appreciate the question, Brock. Keep them coming for us. Here we have Nick. What's up, Nick? Hope you're having an awesome Feel Good Friday. Appreciate you spending some of your afternoon with us. Everett or Bellinger here? Daniel Bellinger, Nate, he's been a guy you've been on since early in the season. He's got the Jaguars this week, which not a sexy matchup by any means, but the Chargers, they come into this one against the Seahawks, which has been a little more favorable to the tight end position. I think it's pretty clearly Everett here. I know that we might see some Keenan Allen here back, but I think Everett has the upside you're looking for. Bellinger has a nice floor, though.
Well, Keenan Allen has said vocally he would prefer to sit this week. If doctors clear him, he'll play. But I think it's trending towards Keenan Allen not playing. And even if Allen does play, we don't know how. He could very well be on a pitch count or a snap count. I like Everett.
Yeah, higher scoring game, I think, over there between those two. Mike, how do you feel about this one?
I agree with you guys. Everett, both this week and currently rest of season, I would say. Although if Bellinger continues to show out, I mean, I could see that being a closer, a tighter decision going forward. Like he looks like he's caught the eye of the OC, whoever's calling the plays, and Daniel Jones definitely appreciates that
Yes.
safety valve. So, but right for this week, it's definitely Everett for me too.
Okay. Here we have David over on the Facebook. What's up, David? Appreciate you tuning over to the Facebook. Hope you hop over to YouTube eventually too and join us here. Would you drop one of these for Rashad Bateman, Curtis Samuel, Rashad White, Mostert, Wan'Dale Robinson, Thielen, Alec Pierce, Daniel Bellinger, Kyle Pitts? So we just talked about Daniel Bellinger, but Rashad Bateman's a very talented wide receiver. I still think he might be not the wide receiver to own in Baltimore the rest of the way through. But I think you should definitely be dropping one of these guys, whether that's Rashad White, Wan'Dale, or Bellinger. Like, take your pick. Maybe one of the Giants players, because I don't think I would want to roster two in that receiving core. Mike, how do you feel about this one here from David?
Well, it looks like you have Bellinger and Pitts, so absolutely I would drop Bellinger for Bateman. I would also drop Rashad White, depending on what your running backs look like. And I would also drop Thielen for Bateman at this point, I think.
Ooh.
The other guys I think I would probably hang on to.
Okay. Nate, are you also dropping your guy Daniel Bellinger here, considering he has Kyle Pitts?
No. I'd probably drop Rashad White for Bateman. He's not there yet, but I think Daniel Bellinger could finish as a tight end one in that tight end one tier, just with how much volume he's starting to see. He caught all 5 of his targets last week and got a touchdown. Jones trusts him, and that's important.
Right.
The New York Giants are 5-1, guys. This is not a drill, and we need to start respecting some of the players on this team because they are producing, and it's going to continue.
Okay, I like that.
You've changed my mind, and I got to pick up Bellinger right now, actually.
Okay. All right, Mike is on the move here.
1 second.
I'll
do it after.
Let's go ahead and move to our question here from Lincoln. How much is Najee worth right now? He says, guy is offering me Najee for Alex Pierce and a 2023 second round pick. Looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think here? We're talking dynasty now. We're shifting gears a little bit in format. But he's getting offered Najee for Alec Pierce and a second rounder. I would probably do this trade personally. It depends if you're win now, because I don't think Najee is going to help you win now necessarily. But you got to think at the same time, Najee Harris is still a really good talent in this league. I don't have any question about his talent. It's just this offensive line for Pittsburgh. It's atrocious. They didn't fix it. Nate, you kind of touched on this in the offseason for your Fantasy Pros offensive line rankings. Like, are you just thinking this is the same with me? This is just an offensive line issue that maybe Najee bounces back here in the next year or two?
Well, definitely. We know it's not a coaching issue. Mike Tomlin is one of the best in the NFL, and that's every season. You can bank on that. I think Najee's going to be fine long-term. But again, if you're trying to win this season, probably don't make that move. But I would assume you're not. Make the move. Najee in 2023, 2024 is going to be in that RB1 class as long as they do something with the line, which I think Tomlin knows they have to do something now.
Yeah, and he's also saying here in the comments too that he already has CMC, Kamara, Elliott, Joe Mixon, so he already has a loaded room. So it's a nice value play, like for the value, but you're probably not starting him. Mike, how do you feel about this here from Lincoln?
I think because it's dynasty. Elliott is at the end of his sort of dynasty usefulness. So you have 3 pretty good, and even Kamara has got a lot of tread off the tires, and Mixon is not super. I know that Kamara and CMC are the same age, but or at least came out in the same year. Mm-hmm. But CMC just seems fresher. Maybe he barely played the last 2 years. But Kamara, to me, I would do this. I don't know what your wide receiver situation is. That would be useful information. I like Pierce a lot. But I agree with you guys. Najee is definitely someone who's going to be a factor, should be in the net for the next, 3 to 7 years. So he's pretty valuable for a dynasty team. So I probably would do this.
The thing about Alec Pierce, because Mike, I love him too, but we don't know who the coach is going to be there next year. And we don't know who the quarterback is going to be next year. We have no idea what that system is going to look like because they've got to get rid of Ryan. And I think Reich is on the hot seat.
Right. They're probably going to get one of these really great QBs too. I would imagine they're definitely one of the handful of teams that's we need a real a franchise QB. So, but you're right. You're right about all that. But yeah, I like Pierce a lot, but I think I would do this deal probably.
The value of Najee is very appealing there. So, guys, let's go ahead and move to our next question here from Monique, new face in the chat. What's up, Monique? Hope you enjoy the content over here at IBT Media. Thanks for making us part of your Friday. Hey, guys, need help. I got Allen on a bye this week. Would you start Carr or Jones versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, Mariota in Cincinnati? So she's kind of looking for a streamer. Matt Ryan's out there. Trevor Lawrence is out there. I said this before. I don't mind Daniel Jones this week at all. I think Daniel Jones has proven that can get it done with his legs. It might not be sexy. It might not be flashy, but I don't mind Daniel Jones. But if Derek Carr's out there against Houston, that's probably the play, I think, for me. T-Law on the waiver wire is really interesting too. But Derek Carr, for me, home run here. Mike, how do you feel about it?
I think this is clearly Carr, too. I think that Jacksonville is a tough matchup. Their front seven is really good. Carr, they're coming off the bye, so they've got that extra week of practice. Mariota has been a little shaky the last couple weeks, right? That's correct? At least one of the last 2 weeks, he was not very good.
He was great last week. He's been poor the couple weeks leading up to that. Inconsistent.
Right, okay. Yeah, to me, I would definitely go with Carr with the extra week of practice and just the better matchup.
Yeah, I'm hoping Darren Waller, hoping Hunter Renfrow can get back up there. They've both kind of been limited in practice, so something to keep an eye out on. But Josh Jacobs has kind of been getting it done out of the backfield, pass catching. And Matt Collins, if he needs to do it, he'll step up once again as well. So keep that in mind here. We got Mr. Scampers in the chat, Nate. CMC or Khalil Herbert at New England? I'm definitely going CMC here. I know if he's active, he might be on a pitch count, but I still think they could use him in a red zone package or two. And Khalil Herbert, there's just no upside here with David Montgomery still in this backfield. Nate, maybe you're hoping to get in the end zone, hit pay dirt. I know Mike wasn't too high on CMC if he does suit up, but are you willing to throw him out there over Herbert?
Well, I mean, when posed with this conundrum, I'm much higher on CMC suddenly. Yeah, I would absolutely. If he's active, I would go with CMC over here. Khalil Herbert is just too risky. It's like, had he not had a 65-yard run last week, he would have been like a 0 or, so it's just too risky. CMC is a no-brainer here virtually.
Nate, you're on that as well.
Yeah, and I'm less worried about CMC having less practice time because, guys, don't forget, he grew up in a Shanahan system. His dad played in the Shanahan system for so long, and he was always in the mix with his dad. And then his dad coached him in high school and ran that system in high school. He's familiar with how this offense runs. Yeah. Just throwing it out there.
Now, also, they never throw Herbert the ball. Even when he's on, he just is not. His floor is 0, and his ceiling doesn't rectify that situation that he can be just devastatingly useless to your fantasy team. So it's a CMC trio here.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good there. Guys, I'm seeing a lot of questions asking about the CMC trade, how it's impacting DJ Moore, Chuba Hubbard. After we're done here live, go back and listen about the first 10 minutes of the show. We kind of break it all down, what it means for the players in Carolina, what's it going to mean for the 49ers as well. So go ahead and check that out. I know we got Nick and Monique here in the chat asking that. Mike, before we let you go, guys, keep bringing in the questions. We'll get to some with our next guest as well, Andrew Erickson, who's coming on in just a couple minutes. Mike, I did want to touch on this Thursday night football game because it was a fun one for once, Other than Andy Dalton throwing a couple pick six for the Saints fans before halftime there, it was intriguing, 42-34 to the Arizona Cardinals here. Mike, what were your fantasy takeaways if you had just a couple here? D-Hop looked sensational, kind of got that Cardinals offense back in rhythm a little bit.
It was crazy. It was a fun night. Arizona almost covered the over by themselves. That was a lot of scoring. So for fantasy, hooray for us. I personally had 3 people across my 5 teams. Some of them, in all 5, I had Olav, I had Hopkins, and I had Benjamin. So, unlike last week, I was like, okay, this week is starting out pretty positive. I thought it was fun. It was exciting. Hopkins looks great. I wasn't particular. Obviously, I have him on a couple teams. So I thought that he was going to be healthier than he'd been in the last couple of years, coming in late like that and not having to he had the fresh legs phenomenon. Like everyone else has been playing 7 weeks of professional football, 6 rather, and he's fresh. He looked fresh. He looked good. A little out of sorts initially. He tried to one hand a few passes where I was like, just reach up with both hands, guy. Like, why?
Yeah.
What's happening? But he, 10 catches for 103 yards. That's a great line, like coming back, right? And like, so I think that's awesome. Benjamin looked like crazy good compared to last week. And, Keontae Ingram stole one of his TDs, but that's okay. Yeah. That'll happen. And Olave, after some debate on Twitter, like most of the Twitterverse thought that I should start him over the likes of like Lazard. And I can't remember who else I posed but we were right. So like, yeah, it was a fun night all the way around.
Awesome.
And on a real level, it was a fun, real game of football. Mm-hmm. Or Andy though. Man.
I completely agree. Herbie and Al Michaels, they got a decent one last night. So hats off to them. They called a good one. Mike, we can't thank you enough for being here with us, man. It's been so fun to talk with you throughout the fantasy football season. We know you love Dave Njoku.
Thank you.
He's took off this year, so I know you're having a good time out there. Guys, set your DVRs in a couple weeks. Mike, what was the name of that show one more time that you're going to be premiering on here in a couple weeks?
I'll be on The Rookie this season in maybe a month or so. Nathan Fillion's show.
There you go.
Really astoundingly good young cast. It's a cop show, and it was a lot of fun. And this is a moment where I should know what network it's going to be on. But it's on television. Go check your television for it.
Yeah,
and,
it's on ABC.
Somewhere. If only there was a device where you could type in the name of like a show and then like it would give you a bunch of information about
it.
Yes, only. It's called The Rookie. Check it out. It should be fun. Awesome. I play an old hippie who sells people pot.
There we go. Our favorite type of character there, Mike. You are a character yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your weekend. We hope to talk to you soon, our friend. Thanks so much.
Let's go week 7.
Yes, let's go here. Thanks so much, Mike.
Awesome, Mike.
Right. Awesome to see him today, Nate. We're going to go ahead and jump into our next segment here, Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. We're going to bring on a very special guest right after this sick drop.
It's the Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week.
All right, Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. This is your thing. This is where we try to give you guys some under-the-radar plays that you can put into your lineup here in Week 7. And to do that, we're going to welcome in a very special guest. First time on the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast. He is the co-host of the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. He's known as Big Pod Energy around these hills. What's up, Andrew Erickson?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, man. Good to have you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad to be here. Can't think of a better place that I'd spend my Friday afternoon talking about sleepers after we got the barn burner last night. I was high on Juwan Johnson, and he scored 2 touchdowns. So I was giddy going to bed. It was great.
Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. We've been hot on Juwan Johnson a couple times. It hasn't come to fruition yet. So I'm glad that you made that right call.
That Cardinals matchup, baby. The tight ends just bleeding points.
That's true.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Andrew, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our listening audience? I know it's your first time on the podcast. Where are you from? What are you all about here as we head into Week 7?
Yeah, so I am in the Boston area, and I work full-time over at Fantasy Pros, as you can tell by my background here. And this is my first year with Fantasy Pros, formerly of Pro Football Focus. But yeah, fantasy football is my real-time job. It's a ton of fun. I'm blessed to be able to say that. I just wake up and do fantasy stuff all day and call it a day and work in my little office from home. And I really couldn't ask for anything better. So I'm excited that you guys were inviting me on here, and I'm ready to talk ball.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. We got some hello Andrews in the chat here from Dee. Good vibes flowing all the way around. Andrew, before we jump into some Sure Thing Sleepers, do you have a little bit of time for a couple questions here from the chat?
Yeah, let's bring it on.
All right. So here we have George, Jets, Miami's, or Steelers kickers to stream this week. So not the most interesting question here. Where are you going with the kickers? Greg Zuerlein's been pretty good. Chris Boswell's always dangerous here as well, Andrew. So how do you feel about this question here from George?
Man, I'm trying to just look at, who is projected to score the most points, and I would probably go with Miami's kicker here. I think that they can move the ball pretty easily on the Steelers' defense, so whether they get stifled in the red zone remains to be seen, but I'm just looking for opportunities for scoring points at offenses that can move the ball at least somewhat, so I'm going to go with Miami there.
Okay, Nate, any thoughts on the kicker verse? I know this isn't really really our specialty here.
No, I agree though. Chase the team that can move the ball, and that's going to be Miami against Pittsburgh.
Okay, and then he has Dobbs or Brandon Cooks in this question as well. I think it's Brandon Cooks. I think he has the more upside. He's a little more consistent of a floor right now. Dobbs is volatile right now. Andrew, can you trust Dobbs, or are you going to send out Old Faithful Brandon Cooks against the Raiders?
Yeah, this one's pretty close for me. The only thing with Cooks that's I have more reservations. I mean, you look at the last 4 games, and we'll talk about this when I was getting to my sleepers, but I mean, Nico Collins is outproducing Brandon Cooks. Like point blank, more receiving yards, despite the fact they're seeing the same amount of targets in the offense, and Nico Collins is seeing more downfield looks than Brandon Cooks is. So I think with Dobbs, yeah, he's sitting also behind Allen Lazard, but he has Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. And I'm just not a believer in Davis Mills, so I'm going to go with the guy with a better quarterback, with Romeo Dobbs, and I think it's a good matchup against the Commanders.
Okay. Nate, split the difference for us.
I have a hard time with Brandon Cooks. Like Andrew said, he just hasn't been as productive as we thought. He's not as quarterback-proof as we thought. Dobbs just has the better matchup this week.
Okay. I'm a little bit worried about Aaron Rodgers this week. I think the Washington Commanders can get after the quarterback a little more. They're top 10 in sacks here, and the Packers do struggle a little bit against some pressure, but I understand the call there, guys. Let's move forward to another question here from a new face in the chat, MJ Woozy. What's up, MJ? Thanks for making time for us today, making us part of your Friday. I have both Ramondre and Damian Harris on my PPR team. Should I trade Ramondre for Walker? So I'm thinking Kenneth Walker here. I am hot on Kenneth Walker, and I don't know if I can stop that, Andrew. How do you feel about this one?
Look, I am like the number one Ramondre stan out there, and even I think that this is a deal you want to make. I mean, like I won't be, stick to my priors and be like, oh, Ramondre's going to get all the work no matter what, even if Harris comes back. Like it's probably not going to happen. Like Harris is probably going to cede some touches, especially if he's healthy, even if Ramondre operates as the 1A to Harris's 1B, whereas it's Walker's backfield, and this guy is super explosive. We knew he was going to take over the backfield when Rashad Penny got hurt, and it was just a matter of time until Rashad Penny got hurt. So
yep.
I think Walker, especially this week against the Chargers, I mean, if they keep that game, if that game is back and forth, I mean, Walker's going to run wild against that defense that they can't stop the run. They don't try to stop the run, and they can't stop the run. So I think Walker's in for a field day, and if you can get off Stevenson before Harris comes back, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Nate, like our friend Andrew, you're also a Ramondre stan. So are you willing to move him for Walker? I like what Andrew's saying, though, because at some point you might have 2 starters out of this if you do that.
Yeah, and as much as I want it to be Ramondre is the one, it's not going to be, because Damian Harris is still a very talented running back. They're going to use him if he's healthy, whereas Ken Walker has no competition. I mean, DJ Dallas and Travis Homer aren't going to take work from him. I would make this deal, even if Damian Harris is injured. I'm still going to take the deal.
Okay. A couple more here for us, and then we'll get into sleepers. We got George, sit 1.5 PPR, Swift, Kenneth Walker, or Damian Pierce. I know this might, that is tough. That's a really tough one. I don't think you can sit Kenneth Walker. We just kind of talked about him and the matchup he has. We do have Damian Pierce against the Raiders as well, which I'm not afraid of their run defense. Andrew, how do you feel about this? Swift might begin the bench for me just because I'm not sure what I'm going to get from him coming back off the injury here.
Yeah, I think that the safest play is probably just going with Pierce. I mean, he's going to come out, get, they're talking about getting him 20 touches. I mean, that's what they've been doing. Like, he's going to get a bunch of carries. Like, you're just concerned, okay, like, does the Texans offense just stall out against the Raiders? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, the Texans, they're coming off a bye week, so you think that they'll be prepared against the Raiders also coming off a bye. So I think that, Swift, the fact that he's still like not practicing 100% like off the bye week is concerning. It's like, is he going to play? Like Jamal Williams is still obviously operating there. And if Swift doesn't break off that massive run like he was doing in the beginning of the season and these massive splash plays, then, you're kind of out of luck. He's more boom bust in my opinion versus Pierce, where, I mean, if you're going to touch the ball 20 times, like you have a rock solid floor. So I think I'd probably lean on the safe side here with Dameon Pierce.
Okay. And then one here from Nick for you, Nate. Am I giving up too much trading Lockett, Darrell Henderson, and Everett for Travis Kelce? I don't think you are at all here. I think Travis Kelce is a top 10 player the rest of the season. Darrell Henderson, he's a solid player. He has an injury history. He gets scrapped up a little bit here. So I'm concerned about that. Tyler Lockett, we've seen more consistency with Geno Smith. However, it's still just a wide receiver 2 at my point to get the tight end 1. And in a landscape where tight end difference means so much when there's only 2 or 3 good ones this season, I'm all about getting Travis Kelce. Are you, Nate?
Absolutely. The thing is that Travis Kelce is the number 1 receiving option on a team that is rotating through running backs. There's no consistency. We don't know what they're going to do from week to week in the running game. The only consistent thing in Kansas City right now is that Patrick Mahomes is going to throw the ball to Travis Kelce at a heavy pace every single week, and that's how they're going to win games.
Yeah.
I have no issue. Yeah.
Andrew, any reservation here?
No, I mean, I really don't think that Lockett, Henderson, and Everett like have production that you can't find elsewhere, and the fact that you're getting I mean, you want the best player in the deal. Like,
yeah.
I don't care about like giving up multiple pieces because it's not really just Travis Kelce because you're filling your roster with 2 more bodies, whether it's waiver wire guys, whether it's, whoever else. It's not just for Kelce. You have other pieces you're technically getting in the deal, and depending on the size of your league, you're probably still getting some value that way too. So I like the 3 for 1.
Awesome. Last one here before we jump into sleepers. Appreciate all the new faces in the chat, guys. Hope you subscribe, stick around to the IBT Media YouTube channel here. My RBs, CMC, Swift, Barkley, Ramondre, CH, and Gunshot B-Rob. Never heard him called that, but that is a great nickname for Brian Robinson. Think I can get Devontae Adams and AJ Brown for CMC. You're not going to get them straight up. If you want both of those, you could get one of them. You could maybe package another receiver with CMC and go after these guys. Andrew, what's your take on this? It seems like he's trying to get these 2 stud wide receivers for CMC. What kind of package can you recommend for our guy Joe here?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do one straight up. You're definitely probably not going to be able to get both guys. I mean, for me, it's probably just trying to sell off Ramondre in a package with CMC. Is probably the best way I would do it. Try looking at your value here, or DeAndre Swift coming off of his bye week would probably be the 2 guys I would look at to package with CMC.
Awesome. Good call there. We appreciate all the insight there on the questions, Andrew. We appreciate all the questions from the IBT family out there in the chat as well. Why don't we go ahead and jump into our sleepers though, Andrew? Our guests who have brought on sleepers, they've been so close to hitting this mark, but they have failed every time this season. So can you be the one to restore hope to our Sure Thing sleepers from the guest point of view here?
Oh, I really hope so. So saddle up, everybody, because I'm rolling with Michael Gallup this week. Like I think that Gallup is in a great spot here against the Detroit Lions. You have Dak Prescott coming back into the lineup. Michael Gallup has quietly been averaging a 23% target share over the last 2 weeks. He's seeing a ton of air yards in the Cowboys offense. And you have CeeDee Lamb that's dealing with this like lingering hip injury. Like Lamb is getting the targets in this offense, but he's not been converting them at a higher rate that he was to start the year. So I'm not sure if that's injury related, but Gallup is starting to ramp up a little bit. Like he had season high in snap share last week. So I think that he's fully healthy and like ready to go. And when you look at the Detroit Lions defense, what have they given up more than anything is not just receiver production, but specifically to number 2 wide receivers. Dead last in DVOA against number 2 wide receivers, and that's Michael Gallup. And it's funny, Michael Gallup, the last time he played the Lions a couple years ago, went for 150 yards. Now, it's a long time ago. He didn't score, but I think that he's going to go for 150 yards and score twice in this game. As one of my bold predictions over on the website. So Very high on Michael Gallup. I think if you picked him up on the waiver wire, he's probably been on your bench for most of the season after he came back from his injury. I think this is the week that, hey, coming off the bench, baby, let's go. Like, put him in your lineup. I think that he can make some splash plays for you and give you some upside.
Dak Prescott coming back in the lineup too is very intriguing, I think, for Michael Gallup. Andrew, if this one doesn't hit, I think that you are jinxed, and Sure Thing sleepers from the guest is jinxed, because this is a smash play in my opinion as well here.
Yeah, I mean, it checks off all the boxes I'm looking for, but, wide receivers can be tricky. Just in general, because the position is so up and down for basically all the guys outside like the top 5.
Yeah,
it can be very fluky. So it could end up being Noah Brown week for all we know. He'll be the guy that catches the touchdowns. But even with Dalton Schultz also still like coming back from his injury, I see the targets condensing for Michael Gallup, and we've seen him deliver big weeks as a deep ball specialist, someone that can win down the field at the perimeter. And I think Dak Prescott wants to show out in this game against a defense that I think that he knows and Dallas knows that they can take advantage of.
Love it. Love it. Well, we'll give you a chance now to react to our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. Nate, I will go first because I know I'm going to get heated over yours. So
I know
I'll bring mine up here. And that is none other than our guy Tyler Boyd versus Atlanta. And I get the concerns with the target share with Tyler Boyd because that's what it is right now, is he's not getting the target share that you want to see in the Cincinnati offense. However, he is top 10 in the NFL in points, fantasy points per target at 2.27. He's seen 5 targets in 4 of the last 6 games. So I think if you can see 5-6 targets against this Atlanta defense, which they're a top 3 matchup for wide receivers, I think it's going to be a really good day for Tyler Boyd here, at least serviceable for your flex. And they're banged up a little bit, guys. Mikal Walker, Taquan Graham, AJ Terrell, they're probably going to be out there, but they are banged up on the defensive side of the ball. Terrell especially is the one that I think is the important piece here. But I think Tyler Boyd, if you're going to send him out, if you're holding him on your roster, this is the week to send him out. We got a lot of relevant wide receivers on bye. So I'm sending out Tyler Boyd here. Pittsburgh Pride with Tyler Boyd here. Andrew, any thoughts on this first sleeper here?
I mean, it's just a matter of, is it going to be the Tyler Boyd show? Is it going to be Chase, Higgins, Hayden Hurst? I know he came off the injury report. It's been, a rotating door of that number 3 receiver for the Bengals behind Higgins and Chase. It's either one week it's Boyd, one week it's Hurst. Last week Hurst was basically non-existent, and you had Tyler Boyd have a more productive game. So I think I might lean towards Hurst a little bit more. I know Atlanta's giving it up a decent amount to tight end, so that would be my only reservation, is if Hayden Hurst is fully healthy, he might end up being the sleeper that you wanted and not necessarily Tyler Boyd.
Okay. Understand that. Nate, the floor is yours, my friend. Please. And those of you new to the show, Nate is what we call a tight end whisperer, or he tries to be a tight end whisperer. We have multiple Sure Thing Sleepers of the week every week that we do. We do In the Scope, which is basically waivers a week early. And Nate, you hit on these guys most of the time. You have a pretty good hit rate. You've kind of been a little sluggish lately in Sure Thing Sleepers, but can you get it back together here, my friend? What do you have for us?
So, Andrew, I take my sleepers very seriously. I tend to go very deep on these, looking for that one guy at a very tough position that might get that touchdown you're not expecting this week. And Seth has been going at me all morning for this. He started last night, actually. Jordan Akins in Houston. And let me explain. He's the highest graded tight end per PFF on this roster. He's the second best blocking tight end behind OJ Howard. He has seen the targets at the tight end position with Brevin Jordan out. He caught all 4 of his targets the last 2 games. The only thing missing is a touchdown. Vegas is 3rd worst in fantasy points allowed against the tight end. It could very well be Brevin Jordan, but I think we see Jordan Akins snag a touchdown in this game. And the threshold to be a tight end 1 is 9 fantasy points. That's the average at the back end of tight end 1. That's how bad the position has been this season.
So, Nate, I get the call. Like I get that you're trying to play matchups, but I think there's a better chance that Jordan Akins is inactive for this game and back on the practice squad than scoring a touchdown. I'm going to be honest with you. He comes in the last couple of weeks, he plays serviceable when Brevin Jordan's out, but he still only has 30% snap share. I'm thinking he's maybe, if he sees the field, it's a 10-15% snap share. I don't think I can recommend people to play a Houston Texans, the 3rd tight end, that's maybe seeing 5-15 snaps a game. Maybe
now let's be clear here. He is 2nd on the depth chart, Seth. He's 2nd on their depth chart.
OJ Howard?
3rd. OJ Howard is a blocking tight end. They targeted him once not last week, obviously because they're on bye, but week 5, they only targeted him 1 time. Akins got the tight end targets. Look, I know it's ugly. I get it. I know it's ugly, but tight end has been one of the hardest positions to get a solid start out of this season if you don't have Kelsey and Andrews. I know it's wild, but
I would rather bury my face in sand and eat it than start this player right here. Andrew, do you have any, can you help Nate here? Or are we just going to pile on? What do you have for us here?
Well, I mean, he definitely hit my soft spot because I've definitely been on the Jordan Akins side of things.
Oh, no.
For probably too long, honestly. I was trying to find ways that he would have been productive on the Giants this year, which is a team he was on and then got cut, and now ended up back on Houston, where he's been the majority of his career. So, yeah, I mean, the thing that I guess I like is you're trying to figure out among this depth chart, where Jordan Akins will potentially get the opportunities, but it is crowded. And is Brevin Jordan coming back? Do we know that for sure? Is he
was a full participant at practice, so it sounds like he will be playing.
Yeah, so that's obviously concerning because they use a rotating room of tight ends. So not only you're just banking on like how many snaps, like is he even going to lead the team in snaps?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of okay. Like that makes this kind of fringy. They also have this guy named Mason Shrek, and I just love the fact that his last name is Shrek on the roster. And I'm always hoping that one day he just has a massive role. I'm like, dude, like I'm playing Shrek this week. I cannot absolutely wait. But the thing with me is I'm looking at, okay, tight ends that can score touchdowns. Okay, what quarterback is going to throw the most touchdowns this week? Like Davis Mills? Is like he one of the guys that really like comes up in the names? Like I guess I'd rather just try to find a better offense and take a shot on a tight end and a better offense and hope they score the touchdown versus a tight end in a committee, a tight end that's playing with Davis Mills. That would be my concern. But I think that the process behind getting behind Jordan Akins makes a lot of sense, and I understand where you're coming from.
Well, now, to be clear, I would start Hayden Hurst over him. If Cameron Brate was healthy, there are a lot of guys I would start over Jordan Akins. But if you are in a weird position where you've got Waller, he doesn't play. You've got Andrews, maybe he doesn't play because he's been limited in practice. If you need a pivot, the guy's available.
Awesome. All right, well, guys, that's Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. Nate, you and I can hang out for a couple more minutes, and we'll answer some more questions that are coming in through the chat. Andrew, we want to thank you for your time today, our friend. Thanks for all the work you do over at Fantasy Pros. You're continuing to pump out good content over there to the people. Where can people find you, and how can they best support you throughout the remainder of the 2022 fantasy football season?
Yeah, so I'm over on Twitter at Andrew Erickson _. That's kind of where I host most of my content and tweeting out threads and my articles that I write over on FantasyPros.com. So you can find all my written content there. I'm also on TikTok, on Instagram with some video content and under the same username at Andrew Erickson _. And before I go, I just wanted to mention off one of my deeper sleepers, just, off the cuff.
Yeah.
David Bell. David Bell for the wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Because Nate went real deep here, and I was like, man, I took Michael Gallup, maybe a little bit of low-hanging fruit, so I'll try to go a little bit deep. So David Bell, rookie wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, saw his snaps increase to a season high last week, and the Ravens, oh my God, the slot receivers have just absolutely destroyed them all year long. So I'm starting David Bell in one of my leagues because all I have is a bunch of guys with the last name Moore, and we know how that's going right now. So I'm going to ring the bell, hope that David Bell can come to my rescue, and I'm going to start him against the Ravens because I need help. So I'll leave on that note.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. Guys, follow him over on Twitter for all that good fantasy goodness. Hey, enjoy the weekend up in Boston, man. It's beautiful down here in Pennsylvania, so hope the weather treats you fine up there as well, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you, Andrew. Awesome having him and Mike on the show. Awesome seeing so many new faces in the chat today, Nate. This has been sensational. And I say let's just keep it going for the next couple minutes. Let's answer as many questions as we can, as long as you don't have a hard deadline, my friend.
No, Jen is at a movie with Jackson. I have the whole afternoon to write and answer start-sit questions.
There we go. Awesome. So a couple of things here. We got Joe asking some questions. Gallup, what about Schultz? I can't trust Schultz right now. He's
too dinged up.
He's too dinged up. He has played the last couple of weeks, but he just hasn't been involved. Let's see what happens this week. Let's see if with Dak back, I'm confident maybe he'll feature Schultz like he did last season a little more. So I think there is still hope for Schultz. I'm still rostering him, but we're not starting him this week here, Joe.
Yeah, no, not this week.
And then he says, thoughts on Renfrow if Waller sits? Well,
I like him.
I do too, but Renfro's banged up too. He was not a full participant as of yesterday. I have not seen the practice reports for Friday, but keep an eye on that. If Renfrow is a full go and Waller sits, Joe, I think he's a viable flex play for you this week. And if both sit, go ahead and fire up Mac effing Hollins, baby. Mac Hollins, I love what he's been doing. He's been getting very valuable target share, big plays, big red zone opportunities for Mac Hollins. But basically, you want a part of this game here on the Raiders side, or you want Jordan Akins if you're Nate on the Texans side of this game. But very fantasy-friendly game coming. Joe also asking, Alec Pierce as a sleeper. Yeah, we love Alec Pierce.
Yeah.
He's my wide receiver start of the week. You can check that out over on the site, inbetweenmedia.com. But, yeah, he is our one of our favorite plays this week. Okay, here we go. We got Lucius back in the chat. What's up, buddy? Hope you're having a great Feel Good Friday. Thanks for tuning in today with us. Afternoon, guys. Great content as usual. Would you start Lawrence or Carr this weekend? We had a similar question to this earlier, so I'm just going to go back to it. It's Derek Carr for me, Nate. Nate, I think you're cutting out a little bit.
I'm here. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought you cut out.
Okay. Derek Carr for you then?
Yeah, definitely Derek Carr.
Just the higher upside here, Derek Carr.
Absolutely.
Texans defense, they got Derek Stingley Jr. They got a couple guys out there, but this is still the Texans. This is still Derek Carr. So I'm taking him a little higher upside, safer floor with Carr there. Thoughts on Ertz rest of the season here from George? Worried about Hopkins dominating the target share? And this is such an intriguing question here from George, Nate, because we talked about it last week on the show, I think on our Friday show, and we said, I wanted to move off Zach Ertz before Hopkins came back. And then Tuesday, we talked about it again because Hollywood was out, so we thought maybe Ertz would have a bigger role. He got the 2-point conversion last night, but he was still around 6 PPR points. So can we trust Zach Ertz? Like, should we be getting out? Or I don't think you sell him off this game. I think you sell him off a big game, but we still saw him get the 2-point conversion, so they're going to use him in the red zone.
Yeah, and I think the usage is going to continue, but having Hopkins back, the jump ball specialist in the end zone, we've seen him make some phenomenal catches. They don't need Ertz to necessarily be that guy all the time anymore. If you can move off of him and get something for him, he might still be fantastic, but there's risk here now. And if you can, move off of him.
Okay, we got one from Hunter here. Hey, guys, got offered CD for Debo and Monty in PPR. Backs are Leo, Leonard Fournette, and Pierce. What do you all think? So he's asking, should he trade CD for Debo and Monty here? You can. Like, I don't mind it, but I don't have a lot of faith in Monty this week. I'm benching Monty this week. There's not a lot of upside there for Monty with Khalil Herbert splitting the reps. So I think Debo and CD are about fair. Like, I think I like CD a little bit better rest of season, especially now with the CMC trade. Nate, how do you kind of see this one here? I think he is getting more value, but I still don't love Monty, and I'm a Monty guy.
I'm taking Monty out of the equation here. If we're looking at just CD for Debo, do it. I would take that trade in a heartbeat. And you add Monty, which if he gets healthy and this offense gets clicking even a little bit, he could have some value. And all you've got are Leonard Fournette and Dameon Pierce. I think he's a nice little addition to bolster that backfield. I would do this deal.
Yeah, I probably would too, Hunter. We appreciate the question here, man. Appreciate you checking us out on the Feel Good Friday. Hope you subscribe, hang around with the channel. Here we got one from George. If I own Barkley, Swift, Walker, Pierce, and Sanders, loaded backfield, which RB are you most comfortable shipping off with in a trade? Again, that's Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker, Pierce, and Sanders. I mean, you are loaded, my friend. Congratulations. It's a league-winning roster. At the same time, though, if Swift has a big game in the next couple weeks, I'm moving off Swift because I can't trust him long-term because of the health. Walker is a slam dunk. Pierce is a slam dunk. They're young. They're healthy. And Miles Sanders, like, you're not going to get as much back from Miles Sanders as you can DeAndre Swift. So I'm trading Swift here, Nate, as crazy as that sounds right now.
That's not crazy at all because it's exactly what I was going to say. I have been saying this since pretty much week 2. Jamal Williams is kind of the goal line, short yardage situation back. He's going to snipe touchdowns from DeAndre Swift all season. Move Swift if he has a big game.
Okay. And then Joe back here in the chat, Nico Collins, hearing Cooks might not play. Well, we just talked to Mike Stoyanov, and he likes Andrew, and he likes what Nico Collins has been doing. Brandon Cooks kind of been phased out a little more of this offense. If Brandon Cooks doesn't play, you can fire up Nico Collins with some confidence. I'm not rushing to play him. Like, I just don't love the Texans offense outside of Dameon Pierce right now, Nate. But there are way worse plays out there than Nico Collins if Brandon Cooks does not play.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it, but what you've got to understand when you're playing any of these Texans guy, and this applies to Jordan Akins as well, they're going to need to score a touchdown if it's a receiver to be able to really be worth starting, or maybe not. I mean, depending on how desperate you are for a start, any points are good points, and you'll get some points out of Collins.
Okay, I like it. And then we have Udo here in the chat. What's up, Udo? Hope to see you later tonight, buddy. Pickens or Pierce here, and I'll be honest, like I like the matchup for the Steelers wide receivers against the Dolphins. Dolphins have been banged up in the secondary. Howard's going to be out there again, but I do like the matchup for Pickens, but he's riskier. Like I think maybe the upside is better with Pickens, but at the end of the day, Kenny Pickett coming back off the concussion, Pierce is the much safer play. How much do you want to risk it here, Udo? How risky you feeling today? I think that's my question. I'm a couple bush lights today, keep it chill, not trying to get all crazy here. Nate, are you getting risky with Pickens? Are you playing safe with Pierce?
It's going to depend on what my rosters are looking like on Sunday morning. If I'm choosing between these two, if I'm chasing, if I need a boom week from someone, I'm probably going to go Pickens on the off chance he has a couple of tutties. If I need a safer play, I'm going to just roll with Pierce.
Okay. Sounds good there. Appreciate that insight, Nate. And then we have Lucius back in the chat. Would you start Alec Pierce, Brandon Cook, or Deontay Johnson? Well, with Brandon Cooks, the injury news coming in, Lucius, I can't really recommend starting him out of this bunch. I love Alec Pierce this week. He is my start of the week. That said, I've been hoping and praying for a Deontay Johnson blow-up game. And if there is a time for it, it's going to be against this Dolphins secondary, which is poor. I'm expecting a little bit higher scoring of a game than the Vegas odds are implying here. So, Nate, I don't think I can sit Deontay Johnson in a game where he hasn't hit 20 PPR points yet this season, but I think this is a spot for him to do it. I like Pierce too, but Nate, how do you feel about this?
It's Deontay, and it's not. You don't have to talk me into it. He's got the higher upside, and I think that he has the easier path to hitting his ceiling this week.
Okay. And Udo back in the chat saying, I had Eno last night. So yeah, you're playing Pierce, Udo. Don't get too crazy about it. He had 12 points the last time he played Tennessee just a couple weeks ago. He's grown a lot since that as a receiver as well. We have George back in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Provided Swift has a big game, would it be better to trade Swift and Ertz for a guy like Kelsey or package him with Higgins for a wide receiver 1? I would definitely be get out of Swift and Ertz if you can. If you can get Kelsey for those guys, absolutely do it. Like Kelsey at this point is a wide receiver 1. Those are the numbers he's producing right now. The touchdown equity is obviously there, Nate. I would prefer him. Like if you can go get a Jay Jetta or a Cooper Kupp, maybe someone struggling there, do it. But if it's not one of those top 3 or 4 receivers, Kelsey's the action here, Nate.
Yep, I completely agree.
And then one more here from Brock. All right, fellas. Alteration of my above trade. I get Eckler, Gabe,
I'm assuming Sony Michel.
Okay, Sony Michel. Thank you. So Eckler, Gabe Davis, Sony Michel, the handcuff to Eckler for Mixon, Ramondre, DJ Moore, B-Rob, Gallup. I still can't make this trade, Nate.
You're giving up too much. I mean, Sony Michel, I don't think he's going to hold his value. I don't think he's going to continue to be involved in this offense. They're using Malcolm Brown. Like the running back room, and you can't trust anything going on in LA right now with the Rams.
Here's my take on Sony Michel. He's a handcuff to Austin Eckler, so he's not moving the needle for me at all. Gabe Davis, like I just think Eckler is greater. Eckler and Gabe Davis is better than Mixon and Ramondre because Ramondre, we don't know what's happening with Damian Harris back. He's going to be involved, so you're going to lose some value there. I don't want DJ Moore on my team. I don't want him on my team. Brian Robinson is fine, but he's not moving the needle for me. Like, if you need depth, Brock, if you're, like, desperate for plays and you need depth, and we just heard from Andrew Erickson, who said that Michael Gallup is his sure thing sleeper of the week. He likes him a lot. So if you need plays, I'm fine with doing this. But I just don't think you're getting enough value for Eckler, who's obviously a top 3 to 5 asset right now, and Gabe Davis, who scorching a high upside every single week, Nate.
Yep, no, I agree. So I think you're reading this wrong. He's getting Eckler.
Oh,
Davis and Sony Michel. So what I'm saying, he's giving up too much to get those 3 players. I'm going to hold Michael Gallup right now. I think you should be able to get, if you want Eckler, Davis, and Michelle, you should be able to get it for Mixon, Ramondre, DJ, and Brian Robinson. You don't need to throw Gallup into that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would, but I definitely want that top package. I would say,
Yes.
I definitely want that top package for sure. But you are giving up a lot, so it depends on your roster construction. Sorry about misreading that one. That was a little confusing there. Guys, appreciate all the questions today. Been absolutely phenomenal to see so much interaction from the chat. Didi, Scampers, Albert, all the OGs here at the IBT family tuning in with us. Nate, it's been a lot of fun, man. We've had so many good guests here this week, whether it was Michael Stoyanov, we had Scott on the podcast earlier this week, and then rounded out with Andrew Erickson, man. I'm thrilled. The vibes are high here, Nate.
Yes, indeed. Great show this week. I will be texting you when Jordan Akins scores a touchdown on Sunday.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. I will be back on Sunday morning with our friend Connor Coughlin. We're going to be going through the DFS and the betting slate for week 7. So you can catch that, guys. Nate, you and I will be back on Tuesday evening with your great wife, Jen, as well, joining us. So excited to see her on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe out there. Have fun. Enjoy this wonderful fall weather. And until next time, guys, keep it in between. Thank you. Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.